Hello, friends. This is Seth from Engage Podcast. Hope you're doing good. Before we get into today's episode, I just have a few reminders and announcements to give to you. The first one being, if you haven't done this already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. So if you're listening to this on Apple, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on Spotify, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Why? Because when you hit that button, every Thursday when we come out with a new episode of Engaged Podcast, you will be the very first one notified, meaning when you wake up on Thursday, on the screen of your phone is going to be a notification that says, Engage has a new episode, click here to listen to it now. How cool is that? You don't have to search us, you don't have to look up, you don't have to look for it. It will be right there on your phone waiting for you. So we can be the first thing that you listen to, or maybe the last thing you listen to. I don't know, but it'll be right there for you. So hit that button, make it easy on yourself. Also, if you haven't yet, check out our YouTube channel. If you don't know how to get there, there's a link for you down in the show notes. Click it, it'll take you right there. Currently, right now, we just announced we're doing a campaign where when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, your name gets put into like a random hat. And from now until the end of August, so the end of the summer, we're taking in all those names. So if you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, your name gets put into this magic hat. And at the end of August, we're going to pull a name from that hat. And if the person lives within the area, meaning they can drive to us, they can actually come here. If that applies to you, that means that you're going to have a chance to be on our show. That's right. If you hit subscribe and you live in the local area, you can actually be a guest on this show. You can share your story. You can tell us about your life. We want to hear from you. So hit that button and come on the show. If you don't live in the area and you win, me and Anthony will send you one of his favorite books with our names signed in the back of it. I don't know if that's going to be any value in the future, but hey, our names are in there, and I'm sure we'll leave a little message for you too. So hit that button. You have nothing to lose, only something to gain. You either be on the podcast show or you'll get a free book, and who does not like free stuff, right? So do that. It's going to be awesome. Also, if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, come to our outside services every Sunday at 11 a.m. As I said last week, and I'll say it again, these outside services are fantastic. I was not a fan of going outside. There's something about doing church outside didn't seem appealing to me. I didn't see sitting in cars and sitting in lawn chairs as being like, okay, I prefer to just go back into church. But I will be the first one to say, I was greatly mistaken. These outside services are so much fun. I look forward to them every single Sunday. In fact, everyone has had such a great time with these tailgate services, outside services, drive-in services, whatever you want to call them, that I think we're going to continue it for as long as we possibly can. COVID-19 or no COVID-19, everyone's loving it. So Sunday, 11 a.m. here at Faith Presbyterian Church in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Come check it out. If you're going to be visiting, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see your face. So that's Sunday, 11 a.m. in the back parking lot of the church. So I think I got everything. Yes, I got everything. All right, so now that I got all of that out of the way, now we can get to the fun stuff. My guest today is a great individual. I was so glad to have him finally on the show. I've been wanting to interview him. I've been wanting to talk to him. I had so many questions to ask him. He is the one, the only Chris Frye. And if you don't know who that is, he is the mayor, the newly elected mayor of Newcastle, Pennsylvania, where I live, about 20 minutes south of Hermitage, which is where we're currently recording this podcast. He's a great individual. He shares his story about how he ran for mayor and how it really was a underdog story. And I didn't know even half of the stuff that he shared. In overall, by the end of it, it was like with Russ Penn. I felt so encouraged. I just wanted to go run a mile, and that's saying something coming from me. Like he was he was a fantastic guest. So give it up for my friend Chris Frye.
Welcome back to our Engaged podcast. This is Anthony Clauditis, pastor of Faith Presbyterian Church. We are here with Chris Frye, the mayor of Newcastle, in our special limited edition series, Leader2Leader. And as always, we've got Seth Walters,
Hello.
the professional sidekick and assistant, sitting here. How are you, Seth?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why are you excited?
Because of our special guest, man. The one and only Chris Frye.
All right, Chris, how's it going?
That's going good, guys. Thanks for having me here. It's a
All right.
pleasure and honor to sit in your presence.
All right, we feel the same way.
Thank you.
So are you a summer guy?
I'm not a summer guy. I was telling Seth this when I was walking in. This heat absolutely kills me. I like the fall,
Okay.
70, 75, 80 degree weather. This stuff is, it's
not your thing.
agonizing. Yeah,
Really?
it's not my thing at all.
Well,
if I
you're-
was at the beach, that's another story.
Okay.
But day-to-day dressing up
Right.
is...
Especially
drives
dressing
me-
up. There's
yeah.
nothing worse than being in the heat in like a suit.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that.
That is true.
Yeah. So.
I'm a June baby, and I'm kind of digging the 90s. I would keep this weather all year if I could. I do like fall.
Mm-hmm.
I love fall, but if I could just eliminate winter, then I'd be okay.
I'll take winter and fall.
Really?
All day, yeah.
Seth, I have a feeling you're vibing over there that you feel the same way as Chris.
My thing is that I love the heat. I hate the humidity.
Okay.
So like with the week we've had is perfect for me because it's like heat.
Oh,
Not a lot of humidity though. But like if I could, I would live in like Florida. Probably not Florida. I would live somewhere like California, like LA, San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my choice. But
Yeah, I go for like Alaska, Antarctica. No heat for me.
I've been to Alaska. It's cold there. It's very cold there.
I am miserable in the heat.
Wow. Okay, well, I came here looking all, trying to be a stud, but I'm good with the heat. So, well, you're here, and I know that my brother Seth knows you, but for our audience out there, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Chris Frye. I'm married. My wife Danielle. I have 3 kids: Dejan, Damarian, and Dania. My boys go to Kennedy Catholic. My daughter goes to Newcastle Christian Academy. We are just I would say your average family, and that's I kind of live through my family. That's what I do every day, and I'm a father. I believe that's part of my purpose here in life, is to be a father to not just my kids, but even to their friends and their group, their people. I don't do too much. I like as you can tell, I like the winter. I like the fall weather. A little bit about me. I don't do anything. This is a tough question because you make me think about like what are my hobbies and things. I like eating. There you
Do
go.
you?
There you
Oh
go.
man, I love food shows. It gets me real motivated to like create something.
Now, do you just watch the shows, or do you go home? Like, do you cook?
It's funny. It's funny. I watch the shows, and then I get like really motivated to make something. So you're looking at me laughing. I get really motivated to make something, and then I get really mad afterwards.
Because it doesn't fit what
doesn't
you saw,
fit.
right? The mind's eye vision didn't happen.
On TV, it looked perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It looked effortless. Mm-hmm. And then, you in your normal house, you don't have all those special ingredients. So you got to go to the store.
Yeah.
You got to get everything. Then you go back to do it, and
Yep.
you just bombed it. I'm like, that looks nothing. It tastes nothing like it. Obviously, I can't taste what's on TV, but it looked like it tastes really good.
Here's
I couldn't
another.
tell what everybody was so excited about.
Here's another thing that bothers me, because I feel the same way. This is my dream job right now. But if there was another job, it would be, who was that blonde-haired guy that had the peacock that would go around to different...
Guy Fieri.
That's it.
Yep.
Diners.
Diners,
That's
drive-ins,
it.
and dives.
If I could have another job, right? How great would that be? So, but to your point, another thing that's bothersome is not only do you have to go and buy all that stuff, but when they're cooking, it's already like chopped
It's already
and
done.
sliced and ready to go.
Yep.
It's all in these little cute little glass bowls. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
And that's when I start getting discouraged because I'm like, I'm not chopping up 20. There's 20 things I need to do here. I'm not doing it. So that's what discourages
Yeah,
me. But I'm with you on the food thing.
Out the gate, you're at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
It's an hour prep time
That's right.
and 15 minutes to cook.
Right. And then how long to eat?
How long do you?
5 seconds.
5 seconds. It's over.
Then you got to clean up.
You're mad.
Yeah.
So I get motivated,
Mm-hmm.
then I get discouraged, and then I go buy pizza.
We had a guest on here that he likes to cook, and he said his wife calls him a glory cook, meaning he likes to put on the big spread when everyone comes over. I like that. So when we get really good, we'll have a cookout, and we'll call it the glory cook.
The glory cook.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right, to show off our skills.
Yeah.
Nice. It's fitting too.
Yeah.
Church.
So let me ask you this: how old are you?
I'm 32.
32 years old. Talk to us a little bit about your influences in your life. Who were they? What qualities do you admire in them? And then share with us a little bit about how you try to implement some of those qualities in your own life.
Okay. I mean, early on, I've had multiple influences, and I think that's important to say because, there's obviously there's different transitions that I've gone through in life that somebody has kind of I've always looked at somebody as the influence and how to help me get through this point, this time I'm in now. So I'll have to say my mom, number one. My mom was, that one that was there constantly in my life and continues to be there for me day in and day out. And she showed me how to work. She showed me how to work and live a life of faith and believing in Christ. My upbringing, it wasn't easy. We were an impoverished family, lived in Habitat House. We're transient, moving from area to area for a while there. And, my mom just was her ability to endure and be persistent and raising 4 kids was, to me she was my hero, I didn't need like Superman or the Hulk or Michael Jordan, anybody to inspire me to live day to day because there's so much more to it. It's the recipe. It's what we were just talking about. There's a recipe to life, just like there's an hour prep time, right? There's hours that are put in on a daily basis by that person, and there are those people that are there with you all the time, and then you can get motivated and be influenced by what you see on TV and what those other folks do. But what's their day to day? That's kind of how I see those influential people in my life. And I had when I went to college, Dr. Paris Baker. He was my professor. I call him my professor, my mentor. He was my pastor. He was a good friend of mine, and he still to this day is a great sounding board and helped me through college because college for a young underprivileged kid out of Newcastle presented a lot of challenges. So in day to day, again, I go back to day to day, how he lived his life as that person. I looked at him as like to see how should I live my life here to be successful as he did, rather than the whole party scene and the drinking, drive, all that crazy stuff. I looked at it as my purpose was to come here and do something with it, and Pastor Baker was a great example during that time. And then I have multiple, my uncles, my uncle Pete, my uncle Joe, in Newcastle have been great inspirations to me again, and I use them for my family, right? How they raise their family, so I got multiple different influences in my life. Sorry, that's the boring answer. I don't have like the
It's cool.
No,
it's not Michael Jordan, but I like Michael Jordan, but it's not Michael Jordan.
Did you watch his documentary?
I haven't.
No,
I stream everything. My stream wasn't working, so
okay.
I have to
check it out.
Yeah, I use those for my sons. Obviously, I use examples like that for my sons. But at the same time, I'm like, who's the one there day to day that you can look up to and get? Because what it boils down to, you're not gonna go, Google Michael Jordan videos every time a situation happens.
Sure,
you're gonna call somebody.
Sure,
and that person that you can trust.
And that's important to have someone the people who are what I like to think about as the rhythm of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the regular, everyday things that you're watching.
Absolutely.
Learning is not taught as much as it's caught. And so you looked at, and we're wise enough too, I think, and that's important, to absorb those lessons through the people closest to you. One of the things I want you to tease out for us is, you mentioned when you went to college that there were challenges that you faced that were maybe a little bit different than others. What would be an example of that?
Oh man, every day was a challenge. College was, number one, I had to leave home and I had to fend for myself. I had to find out.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Gannon University.
Okay.
In Erie, PA. I'll say this, it was the college experience. That was the one thing back then that everybody was looking for and wanted to get into. And I am a firm believer there is no college experience. Life continues on and life gets harder as soon as you get to college. Mm-hmm. As soon as your parents drive off or whoever drops you off leaves, life just gets harder no matter what. The college experience is, I think it's that it puts you to the test in terms of, can you survive in this atmosphere? Can you hold a job? Can you be successful? Can you manage your life? And I made a mistake the first semester I was there to try to experience that. It was typical kid, partying, drinking, playing video games all day and all night, getting into the intramural sports. Where's the fun at? Mm-hmm. That was the mentality that we had. And it hit me pretty hard. And there was a moment after my first semester where I remember going home and I'm not ashamed to say it, my grades were terrible. I think I had a 1.9 GPA or something like that.
I'm familiar with that GPA.
Yeah.
You're talking to a guy that's familiar with that GPA.
I remember sitting down and reading that letter, looking at my mom, and I said, "Mom, what do I do now?" Mm-hmm. And they didn't kick me out. They said, if you decide to come back, you got to enroll in placement classes and work your way out of it. And she said, you could take the easy way, come home, work at a normal job here in town, and do that until you figure it out, or you can go back and it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And I wanted the challenge. It wasn't about college. I know college isn't for everybody. It was the challenge. Mm. It was, do I run from the challenge or do I attack it head on? And I was like, I'm gonna do this. Mm-hmm. Looked at my mom. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna let this defeat me. So I went back and put my head down for the next 3.5 years and came out on top.
Very nice.
3.5 GPA graduated with.
Congratulations. Yeah. It's hard once you start like that to build that back up.
Yep.
It reminds me of a story. When I left high school, I went to Georgia to a small Christian school called Toccoa Falls College. And that was about 12 or 13 hours away. And that was a big deal, which we're not going to get into now, about leaving the family and all that. It was a make or break moment. Mm-hmm. But I remember talking to my cousin David, and he said, I want to tell you a story about when I went to school. He went to, I believe it was Slippery Rock. And he said on the first day of freshman orientation, the guy giving the talk had all of the freshmen get up and stand in a line when he was done. Mm. And he said, now I want every one of you to look to the left, and I want every one of you to look to the right, and one of you will not be back next semester. And he said, and you're leaving your family, you've got a big calling on your life, but it's going to be easy for you to be one of those people that won't go back. He said, you make sure you're one of those people that goes back. Yeah. Now, with that in mind, here's what's crazy. I only thought about that for me. But that next semester when I went back, I'd go to so-and-so's room, knock on the door, not there. The room's cleared out. Right. Now, they never said anything because I think they were embarrassed that they were failing out. But it was those same kids that I saw running around acting crazy that never came back.
You're right.
So I got a question. So you talk about you don't want to run away from a challenge. I got to ask, because I live in Newcastle. Mm-hmm. What made you look at being a mayor of Newcastle and you were like, I want to do that?
You said it was a challenge, and I knew it was a challenge. For the last Newcastle running for mayor, I'll give you a little back history just real quick. after I graduated again in 2011, I got a job in town, and I was happy about it because Pittsburgh was a monster, and I just didn't find my fit in Pittsburgh. I got my master's degree from University of Pittsburgh in social work, community organizing, and administration. So I got a job in Newcastle to start. There was a big push on community organizing and change and neighborhood development. So I was happy to get a job doing that in town because that's where I felt I wanted to be most influential and impact the community where I came from and that I was growing up in. So fast forward, a lot of conversations were being had back in 2011, 12, 13, and on about, what was the problems in Newcastle, and a lot of things just pointed back to the mayor and the leadership in the city, and those were, again, first thing I think of is how do I solve the problem? How can this change? And automatically I just insert myself into it, right? I need to fix this. Let's be a part of the change. Let's be a part of fixing it. We'll do whatever we got to do. I don't mind sacrificing to do it, especially when I know it came from, it comes from the God. A lot of time went by, and my wife, she's funny. This was what would have been 2018, October 2018. And I always talked about it, baby, I'm going to run for mayor, I'm going to do it. And I always thought it was going to be when I was 55, leave and come back. My kids are graduated. I'm looking for a career change before I retire, do it for 3 terms or something like that. And that was always the conversation. And October, it was around October, I'm rolling over and waking up in the morning, getting out of bed all groggy, my back hurting. And I looked at her, I said, babe, you're not going to believe this. She was like, what? I said, God said run for mayor. And I think you're going to have him on here later at another time, but Robert Lyles. Called Robert Lyles, and he was like, are you sure? I said, I think so, man. I said, anytime God tells me something, it's like, oh, yep, time to go. That's you want, be obedient. And from that point on, it was go. And I think the challenge in knowing what we face now, Newcastle's economically distressed community, 3 years to get out of it, just got a new garbage system. I mean, odds are stacked against us like no other. We're in probably one of the hardest times in Newcastle's history in terms of economic and community development. So we really have to make a push now to get out. So it wasn't coming into a seat that's glamorous. I actually joke all the time now. I say, I don't know what all these guys were so excited about. What were these bears so excited about? What these people that ran for office? I mean, change is it seems inevitable. Like, where is it at? And that's every day. Almost every day, you go into the office and I think about how does somebody that has a rough life, I've had those days growing up, where there's no food in the refrigerator, and you look at your mom and your family, got to go figure out where to get it from. That's kind of how it feels a little bit. But for me, I know that faith factor that comes in. You're like, and you're that oddly, awkward optimism. At the, it's wrong time. Why are you optimistic right now when it looks like this? But there's something there. I don't know. I don't see it yet. We're going to work every day to figure it out and then pray, But there's something there in Newcastle, and I believe it.
That's really cool. Before we get to the next question, I do have one more thing I want to ask that's not on the paper, so I apologize for this being like a curveball.
No.
And throughout that whole process of running for mayor, which personally I think the running for mayor part, in my mind, would be more scary than actually being mayor, because you see in like TV shows or movies, whenever you run for public office, all of a sudden that's when everyone's like eyes are on you. What was the biggest challenge that you faced personally while you were running for mayor?
Biggest challenge I faced, it was, it wasn't necessarily all the eyes on me. It was more just a challenge in doing it, in running. Had no clue what a campaign consisted of. I think I had $250 in my pocket. And
You were just like,
I looked at my wife. I said, and I had to ask her, babe, can I have that $250? I think I need to buy signs or something to put up. And
that was the most shocking part of the whole conversation so far.
Yeah.
It's like, you did this on $250. Let's just get a high five.
Dude, I had nothing.
That's amazing.
Now, as time went on, we were able to raise money and things like that.
Right.
But, I had to Google, what is a campaign?
Yeah. You're on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
How do I do this?
Yeah, I had to watch videos and stuff. So, I've really had nothing. It was just, when they say step out in faith, that's all it was. I knew that there was, along the way, God, I had faith in God presented the opportunities and brought opportunities to me. Great advisors, again, like I said, Robert Lyles, a gentleman by the name of Eric Francis. Had no clue who Eric Francis was.
Do we need to have him on the show?
You probably could. He's a great guy, politically minded, good, just smart guy. And I had no clue who he was. I was knocking on doors, and I don't even remember how we contacted. And he just gave me the whole scenario. This is how it works. This is what you need to do. And it was, when you meet him, he looks like Rocky, and then I look like Creed.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. For all those listening, you can't see this. Don't look at my Facebook pictures. So it was like a Rocky. It was, you have to have fun with it.
Yeah, right.
It was like a Rocky Creed thing politically.
So
it was fun, but he gave me the strategy. That's why I said it was like the strategy to do so, and a lot of it was knocking on doors. What do you do? What do you say? And be yourself. And that's exactly what we did. And at the end, we ended up raising $9,000. Family, friends. Actually, one contributor gave me $5, so it was like I really only raised $4. And my opponent spent almost like $60, maybe even more, some $1,000. So again, it was that just stepping out in faith.
That's a fantastic story. It really is.
And the challenge was my daily life, because I still worked 3 jobs and raised my kids.
That's incredible.
Travel baseball. That was the challenge.
That's incredible.
Was not, for me, everything was, don't let it impact my family.
Right.
So it was, after being up for 24 hours, I probably should go hit some doors for 5 to 8 hours. So I'll go hit doors, do it at a time where, there was managing it so it didn't affect my family was the biggest challenge for me.
Well, I can tell you as an outsider, again, living in Newcastle, I was under the impression, I'm completely shocked by all of that. Like, the fact that you just got up one day and you were just like, I'm gonna do this, because the way you handled it, the way that I saw you run, it seemed like you'd been preparing for that for years, and you finally were like, okay, I'm ready now, because how much money you had in your pocket when you started out, it's just mind-blowing to me, and it's really inspiring too, and I think it's also a huge testimony to the fact that people loved you because you were just you. That's one of the reasons why I love you. And I was so glad to see you run for mayor, and I knew you were going to win this because you were authentic. And I think that's one of the most important qualities in any leadership role is authenticity, and that's definitely you.
And I really appreciate that, and I love you too.
Oh, thanks, sir.
A little bromance.
Yeah, a little bromance.
Nice.
Bromance from Newcastle.
On the podcast. But this is I guess, if I had to think of a message for, and I'm going a little off script too, but if I had to think of a message for politicians in themselves, is you have to be authentic. You have to. And I look at the landscape, the political landscape now, and I get an opportunity to I got a chance to go down to the president. I got a chance to talk to senators and congressmen and House and representatives, state representatives, and that's the challenge in itself too. Is, listen, get out of your office, right, and go talk to the people.
Right.
Go talk. That should never be a thing that you do. You should never avoid
that. Shouldn't be a last resort.
That should not be the last resort.
Right. And I think what happens is people start out like this. right? They understand that there's that connection, and I need to get with people and listen to people. And then what happens is over time you get so hung up, it's like you lose that vision.
Right.
So don't lose that vision.
Yeah.
Here, I want to explore a little bit more about what you're actually doing right now. So one of the things I tell people is the higher you climb in leadership, the leadership ladder, the more people you influence, but also the more folks more people will criticize you.
Mm-hmm.
How have you dealt with criticism?
Depends on how it comes in. We get a lot of, you get a lot of criticism that kind of is unjustified. So those are the ones you just let it roll off. You're like, or you provide accurate information. I love my enemies just like I love the ones, that love me. Anybody that comes, I just offer always, and I did it in the campaign too, offer the opportunity to come sit down and talk. Most criticism is from folks who either don't know or have never met me or don't know what, we have never even had a conversation. So I looked at all criticism early on as just, maybe it's ignorance.
Sure.
So here's an opportunity for us to learn from one another if you're willing, like I'm willing to sit down and talk. Mm-hmm. Never said that we're not going to have differences. Mm-hmm. I never said we're not going to do that, but there's an opportunity to sit down and talk. And having that open door policy and looking for those opportunities are it. Criticism towards me in particular, things that I do, I know that they're going to come. I didn't come in the office thinking that I was going to make every right decision, or I knew that there was going to be things that I did wrong, and I think accepting that and knowing that and kind of helps even helped me make right decisions more often than not, because I know that there's an opportunity, and I look at everything as let's be diligent in our decisions and not be impulsive and just making bad decisions. So I look at there's a lot of criticism with Newcastle's, the situations that we're in economically, and then with the garbage and the changes in the garbage system. We've had to take a role. We inherited a lot of it, but what we inherited, the way it's managed, it all falls on me, right? It all falls on me and my administration. So at this point, the criticisms are ours. Well, he didn't inherit it. Yeah, we inherited it, but how are we managing it? How are we working with these parts? So those are like a lot of that stuff. We want people to know. I want people to see how things are progressing and working. And when there is a problem, how we approach it in terms of fixing it. I don't just jump and get frantic about it. We piece it down. It's always relationships, and I know that was in my campaign. One of the big things in my campaign is relationships. It's trying to keep strong relationships. So, it's very tense. It's a very hard, tough position to be in. The spotlight is on us in everything that we do, but bringing a team mentality, that team focus into the city hall really helps kind of curb the criticisms a lot, because we're able to make good decisions.
Yeah.
I like the approach of what I'm hearing you say in terms of having the open door policy when there's a criticism is the book of James talks about being slow to speak and quick to hear. And you've heard this, but the saying is God gives us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So to look at the criticisms, which as you go up the ladder of leadership, it's part of the deal. People are going to criticize you, sometimes mostly unjustly, but having that mindset is really creating an opportunity. And I think that's very wise. So when you see the criticism, you look at it as this is an opportunity to connect, right?
Correct.
And so I think when you sit down with somebody, maybe not 100%, but 90% of that gets diffused because they're hearing where you're coming from, and why you came to that decision. And what happens is when you sit with somebody, you widen the door for understanding.
Right.
And I think that's a really really cool approach.
I think so too. All right. So in your opinion, what do you think the world needs most right now?
Jesus.
Say more.
Jesus. I think the world just needs, and I don't want, it's you got to be careful with, that we know that there's religions and different views and different viewpoints, and in my position, I made it very clear to a lot of folks and I got messages about the person being homosexual, or what do you think about, all these different, ways of living. And here's my answer. I'm a social worker, right? I go to work to look. That was what my passion in life was, to understand people, be empathetic towards other folks, to understand differences and treat everybody with dignity and respect. So I say Jesus because I believe Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. And we want our world. I want Newcastle to emulate the kingdom of God. And the reason I want that is because what's better? Right? Give me something that's better.
Mm-hmm. When you walk in here, you'll see we have a really nice, what is it, a monument? I don't know, to the 10 Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And, just think about what you're saying. Don't steal.
Yeah.
Right?
Problem solved.
Don't murder.
Problem solved.
Right. And so the more that our communities can reflect that, the better our communities will be.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Right.
You're going to get that might be a great sermon title for me in the future.
Yeah.
It's problem solved.
Problem solved. That's how, and that's me, not in, again, you got to, I always think of like what's the challenge question, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're sinners. So there's going to be those things, but when you truly give your life to Christ, and you truly begin to walk in His light, I think as you mature and as you grow in your faith, but you got to make that concerted effort first. You have to make that concerted effort to get there. I just think, Newcastle is. I want that to be it. Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
There's your
vision. There's the vision. I want it to be to emulate the kingdom of God, and again, show me something better.
Right, exactly.
If you got something, show me something better. But at this point, and for the rest of my life, I'm believing in the kingdom of God.
I like it.
It's cool.
So let me turn the corner here to get on something a little bit lighter. Tell me about your hobbies. What does Chris Frye do to unplug? What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? So first, I have 3 kids, so a lot of my time is spent with them. So number one, I go either work out, go to baseball games. We take little mini trips on the weekends, me and my family.
How old are your kids?
My oldest son, he's 15. And then 14, he'll be 14 in August, and then my daughter's 4 years old.
So you have 2 boys that are pretty close in age.
Mm-hmm.
Are they getting to the point where they're as like big and strong as dad, or they think they are?
My older son, and I'm not going to let him hear this segment, he is very strong.
Is it?
He's been strong. He's kind of the the ox kid. When he was 8, he punched me one time. We were playing around. I said, dude, don't. If you hit me one more time. Like it makes you feel like you just got attacked by a grown man. I said, and now that he's bigger, like his hands are bigger than me. He's as tall as me.
So is that weird as a dad? Because weird. I watch my son Carmen. He'll be 6, and he's one of those wiry, very strong. Mm-hmm. He's very strong.
Very strong, yeah.
And like when I wrestle around, I have to use a little bit of effort.
Yes.
And it's weird to me to see that ratchet up on him. And I'm thinking, like, how weird is it going to be where I have to secretly keep inside, like, you're stronger than me now, but I can't let you know. Is that a weird vibe as a father to look at that?
It's very weird. You have to be very secure in yourself because it's almost like being back at the playground.
Wow.
Right? When you're that young kid trying to grow up and be the most athletic one, but you're not yet. You're playing with the 18-year-old, and then your son comes out, and now I'm 30 and I'm going downhill, and you're like, yeah, let's go play basketball. And then he dunks on you, and you're like, yep, let me get off the court.
Right.
So you got to be really secure yourself where it could bring you back into that mix. But it's just wait.
Because you can't be like that Al Bundy dad that's always trying to outdo your son. You can't do that.
No, that's a recipe for disaster. So and you do that, and it's very embarrassing because he's 16, his testosterone, or 14, 15, his testosterone booming. He's eye level to you, and he's about to be potentially the next star in basketball at his high school, and you're going downhill very slowly. I mean, that's reality,
Here's
right?
a future vision for all the dads out there. So
Look,
we want to encourage you here at the Leader2Leader podcast.
you're going. The reality is you're going downhill, and you're not going to the gym 5 to 7 days a week. I mean, you can get testosterone shots, but that's on you.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it. So it's the best thing to do is just step back and be the dad. Show him Michael Jordan videos.
Right. And your daughter, you said, was how old?
She's 4.
Okay.
Going on 15.
Yeah.
going on 15.
Yeah.
And she's in the gymnastics, and she's having 2 older brothers, she's a feisty little one. Yeah.
Do they look out for her?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very close knit. We're all, again, that's the joys. That's my hobby. Is I'm with my family, go home to them, we hang out. My personal hobby, how I turn the lights off, no TV, and I sit in the living room. And then they come down like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "This is it."
That's what you do.
Listen, we may have to edit this out too, but I have a Christmas tree up in my house. It's up all year. And you know the little glow of the lights? I don't know what it is, but I find so much solitude in that.
Love it.
And I will sit at the end of the night when the kids are in bed, and I'll find myself I stare at the wall, right? And I don't know what that is. Maybe you're just so busy all day and engaged with so many people that you kind of just zone out. But I find myself doing that too. I've had a few parishioners that were like, "Hey, I want to stop by your house, but no lights were on." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. There's a night light on."
That's how you do it. No, I think it's very important, especially you guys are pastors, and if you can't disconnect or unplug and get away from just the craziness of life. I sit there and I don't even know what I'm thinking. I might think about hamburgers and French fries for all I know. It's
or
just,
sometimes you don't.
You don't. You just unplug.
You
You just sit and just make that opportunity to reflect. That's leadership. You have to be able to reflect on what yesterday was and what you're going to do today, and just kind of just let it all go.
I think you need that. I mean, that's kind of why we tend to always look at the keep the Sabbath day holy commandment as like, oh, that's for back then. But no, that was the whole idea that God had for the Sabbath, was just to kind of just take a break from everything and just reflect and just let your brain and your body just kind of relax. And I think especially in our modern culture, with everything like that going on with computers and phones and everything like that, it's so hard to do that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that since we've kind of gotten away from that whole Sabbath rest or just turning everything off, that you see things like anxiety going sky high, depression going sky high. It's because we're never letting our brains stop. I mean, maybe I should, because I don't.
You should be a psychologist.
Well, even when you read the Gospels, you see Jesus retreating.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes.
He would unplug. So if our goal, and this is how I would describe my vision is simply to follow the leader, capital L. And so if I see my leader doing it, then it's probably good for me to do it.
Right.
But you've had a lot of different experiences in your life, right? You've stepped out in faith to do some things that other people wouldn't think that you would do or able to do. Tell us about a time that you did something, but you didn't succeed. You failed. and then tell us the lesson or lessons you learned in that failure.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave that with college, and I won't tell that story again. But in general, to failure, I think failure. Like I was this morning, a friend of my wife and I is going through some stuff, and I was outside, and my neighbor, he had some questions about a property, and had a guy come look at our driveway and give us a quote, and a friend of ours pulled up and needed to talk real quick, and I just said, gave her, what's going on, and a part of our conversation was failure. This particular person lost her job, is going through some hard times, and I looked at her and said, and she said, I'm showing you, I put all these applications in, educated, was a manager, coordinator, so has leadership potential and skills, and showing me, well, I applied to all these jobs, and this place wouldn't keep me, and this place wouldn't keep me, and this place wouldn't keep me. And I looked at her, I said, oh, okay. Did somebody say, did anybody ever tell us that we weren't going to fail, or that everything was just going to be given to us? I said, that's a part of life. Well, I don't want to end up back where I was, and living in housing or things like that, and or food stamps. I said, did anybody say that couldn't happen to us? I said, once we get out of that frame of mind, that we can't, go backwards, but that does something to our abilities and skills and talents that God has given us. And I'm not saying do that or go back there and just be comfortable with it and okay with it, but nobody said we couldn't fail. I think failure is a part of life, and it is part of what we need to do to learn and to get to the next level. I fail every day. Ask my wife. Ask my kids. I fail every day. I can't tell you how many off the wall things I do, I say, or I don't do, and do. Ask my staff. I fail every day. Make a wrong decision. I think it's what you do with it after the fact. If you continue to let that stuff happen and you get comfortable with it, but you got to expect failure. I think you got to know that failure is gonna present itself at some point, or else I think you fall into it and it becomes a way of life and you get stuck there. So college was that big one, that sophomore year. I mean, I failed miserably. And then before that, in high school, I failed miserably on my SATs. And then after, I remember...
Since we shared a similar GPA, could you share your SAT score? Just because I'll share mine after.
I bet you mine is way worse than yours. Do you think so? Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you the whole situation. Well, mine, I think mine was, if I recall correctly, mine was like a 600.
Okay, I slightly beat you. I had a 680.
Oh,
but it's still sad. We're both sad. But look at us now, with determination and what Jesus can do.
Right, and it wasn't that it wasn't intelligent. I have a master's degree, right? Yeah. I did the work. I failed. Mm-hmm. I can look back and I know I failed. Didn't take SAT prep classes. I tell my sons they're going 9th and 10th grade. We started SAT prep last year. I failed. I did not do what I needed to do. I had a rough night the night before. Personal choices that I made, that I didn't go to sleep. I didn't prepare. It's preparation, right? Mm-hmm. I think the way you limit, I don't want to say eliminate, you limit failure is preparation. You prepare for what you're going through, your challenges. You wake up every day, you set those goals. I taught goal setting for years with youth on juvenile probation, and I do it every day with my kids now. You set those goals and you prepare for it. It's like my sons, I said they play baseball. Baseball's like a perfect sport. You have to prepare. If you don't hit 4 days out of the week and you go play on Saturday, you're not hitting the ball. Or your chances, you already only have, you're a pro if you hit 30%, right? So you're already at a disadvantage. So you have to prepare for, to limit the opportunity to fail. So, yeah, I wasn't a dumb kid. I just didn't prepare. And looking back, I look at that like, wow, man, you really didn't So now it helps me today. Be prepared for your situations. Be prepared for your opportunities. Be prepared when you get here. And when I reflect and I decompress and don't do anything and turn the lights off, that's a part of preparation. My mind, my body, my spirit, being in sync and being fresh-minded. So when I go into situations, I'm ready.
I like that. Victory loves preparation.
Victory loves preparation.
They're like best friends, huh?
Yeah.
We should get T-shirts that say "Victory loves preparation." That's a Latin.
I like it.
That's a Latin phrase. I don't remember how to say it in Latin, but on my business card, I actually have that on the front.
Oh, do you?
And when we're done here, if someone's got to remind me, I'll probably forget. I'll see if I have one in my office, and I'll give it to you.
That's I like that.
It's very cool. Very cool. All right. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, I got a couple more quick ones, all right?
Sure,
just for fun.
Yep.
We're sitting here. You're 30?
32.
32. We're sitting here 15 years from now. Where do you see yourself?
Where do I see myself? Hopefully traveling the world eating food. Oh, man. That's the dream life, right?
What's a bucket list country that you want to go to and eat?
Italy.
Italy?
I always wanted to find like the grandma of somebody and just go sit in her house.
That's a great vision right there. Go to the Nani's house.
The Nani's house.
Yeah.
It's just her, me. I don't care. Could be her husband or whatever. We're just hanging out.
Invite him
My
too.
wife. We're just hanging out. Wine and just authentic. Just in like a nice deck, right? And in the urban area, I don't want a beach or anything. I want an urban, like sit out on a deck, and just.
That is really cool.
No words.
I like it.
It has to be quiet, right?
Yeah, I like
just
that.
Sit there.
What's the meal? Or is it whatever she cooks?
Whatever.
Okay.
Something Italian.
All right.
I was from Virginia. We didn't have like spaghetti down there.
Can I tell you a story about when I would drive to Georgia?
Yeah.
I'd go through, I think, West Virginia. And our goal was it was me and my best friend. And so our goal every time was to get there as quickly as possible, right? It's the guy thing. Like, we got there in 13 hours and now we got to beat it. So we never really, we had certain stops we knew we had to stop at. But as we were getting ready to graduate, we were like, we should take in a little more. And so we would always pass this gas station, but next to it was a restaurant. And it said authentic Italian. I was like, how is there an authentic Italian restaurant in West Virginia?
Right.
Like, we're in the hills. So I remember we walked in there and it was not authentic. And we stopped at another place near there after. And I said, what do you think about that authentic restaurant over there? And the guy, he was very hillbilly, he looked at me and said, that's not real food. I said, oh, really? I said, well, what is real food? Because my mom's 100% Italian, my dad's 100% Greek. So now it was like you said, so let's open the door. Let's widen the gate here.
The spectrum.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, real food? Hot dogs and hamburgers.
Yeah.
I was like, that is real food.
Yeah.
I knew my stay was going to be short there. We gassed up and got out.
Hot dogs and hamburgers.
All right, so that's looking forward. Now, let's look back.
That wasn't 15 years. That was the bucket list dream.
I got you.
I wanted to say this because this is if I always think if a youth hears this, I think it's important for them. Again, just like going into the mayorship, I don't think the Holy Spirit works that way. So I kind of leave my options open. I want whatever God has for me to do in 15 years.
So kind of like one of those, the prayer that Jesus prayed in the night of Gethsemane, right? If you could take this cup from me, I'm happy for you to take it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, not my will, but your will be done. Okay, that's heavy. So let's do the opposite now. Let's go back to when you were 10-year-old Chris Frye. If you had a chance to talk to your 10-year-old self, what advice would you give?
Learn as much as you can. Take that time as a youth where you don't have very many responsibilities. You have, your options are open to whatever, and learn it. for myself as a youth, we had a lot of challenges growing up, impoverished, and just had it was a tough situation for us. But I do this today with my sons, and I just talked to my 13-year-old, and I said, what are you learning? Right? You're not in school right now. You just went through the whole quarantine. Like, what are you learning? And I focus, like, they love me. They listen to a lot of music. They play their video games. They're kids, but they put themselves in, they're closed-minded, and and I just tell them, I said, buddy, take this time to learn. I mean, you could be 18 years old and be financial, trading stock or something, You could be 18 years old and know how to partially build a house or do something amazing with.
Well, especially since, you have the internet, you have between Google and YouTube, there's so many things. I just learned what the stock market was for the first time, like 2 or 3 days ago, from just YouTubing it. It was like, I would have never have learned this if it wasn't for YouTube. So, I don't know, like, the time is now. Yeah,
I'm doing without that 10-year-old question. Mm-hmm. I'm doing what at 10 years old I should have been doing. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it now at 32. So that's what I would tell a 10-year-old. Listen, man, I know YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff is fun. But I'm telling you, I'm not too far off from being y'all's age. Learn it. I'm not saying that that's your career, that's your life, or that's your dream job or anything like that. Just go learn it. Like I go now at like, so I work at a hotel, and it's very slow. It's like an evening job on the weekends.
You're talking about Jefferson Motel in downtown Newcastle.
No. Quality Inn Hotel in Chenega. Well, I work evenings there, and I've been there for 4 years. It's just one of those gigs that you went and got just because you can get it, and it's a part-time job. I work. That's what I do. I work. Family, kids, being a mayor. It's just the way I'm wired. But I spend my time there, studying. I've learned hotels, hospitality. Just it's the nature of the job. I spend a lot of like stock market. Dude, I created my own 12-week stock market learning process. I spent like 16 hours a week learning it.
It's fascinating.
Very fascinating.
I would have never. I knew there was a stock market. I knew it sometimes crashes and things go bad, but I had no idea how it worked. Yeah. And I'm not even kidding. I YouTubed it. And I watched like a 20-minute video, and I'm like, I learned more from that than I did in all of my years in high school.
Yep. I have my investments. I have my 401k. I think I make good financial decisions based on questions I ask. But
that's cool.
The stock market, very interesting. I got so excited the other day. I traded something for like $20, and my wife was like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like a kid in the candy store. I was like, I just traded some stock, and I got $20 off of it. I'm like super excited. And she looks at me. She's like, "Oh, okay." It's like my birthday money.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
God bless everybody. We have to live a life that we're all in a challenging time, and all of our lives are presented with challenge. And I feel like that was the topic of today. How do we overcome? Mm-hmm. We overcome situations day in and day out. We're presented with challenges day in and day out. I just want to encourage everybody to stick to it. I want to encourage everybody to lay it at the Lord's feet when you have those problems.
That's awesome.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming out to our Engage podcast. This is our limited special edition series, Leader to Leader, where we take community leaders such as yourself, and we feel like giving you a platform for people to get to know you better, to get to know your values, your ethics, to see what you're all about, gives a greater insight for the group out there, for the audience, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. All right, did I not tell you that was an amazing episode? Oh man, I love Chris so much. I gotta find a reason to get people like him, Michael Muha, Michael Joanno, just all these great people we've had on. I gotta get them back on here again because I could just hear them talk all day long. Hope you enjoyed it. Listen, if you enjoyed this, there's no better way to get the word out than just to share this with somebody else. Share the link. Share if you're on YouTube. Leave a comment. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Just get the word out about what you heard here today. And don't forget, subscribe to the page. That way you can get notifications. Also, subscribe to our YouTube account, YouTube channel. I keep saying account, I don't know why. Subscribe to our YouTube page. That way you can be a guest on this very show or get a book signed by me and Pastor Anthony. And we'll be back to check with you. By the way, I almost forgot. If you heard that clicking sound in the background at the very beginning of the show, what that was is the Herald, the newspaper, came here to take some pictures and kind of like see what we're all about. So that was pretty cool. So that's what that clicking was. But you guys need to come back next week to check out who our next guest is going to be. We're going to have, I'm not going to tell you. You just have to come and just check it out. All right. Sorry to do that to you. See you guys next week. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. We're praying for you. Goodbye.